Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Perk, I'd like to just continue Senator Ossoff's line of questioning. He was just asking about the First Amendment. You said that you had a number of cases on the speech side of the First Amendment as Solicitor General. Is that right?
That's correct.
You also had some religion clause cases too, though, didn't you?
I believe I've had one.
So let's talk about when you were Solicitor General defending the governor's executive order that closed churches in the state. Do you remember that executive order?
Yes, Senator.
So the executive order said that all indoor gatherings of 10 or more people were banned, with some exceptions. Do you recall?
I believe it said that that there was no limits on outdoor gatherings, and if it was not possible to have an outdoor gathering, then you could have it inside with 10 people.
Okay, so if it's 10 or more people, you can't have it indoors unless it is impossible. Here's what you told the court. Here's who you told the court would absolutely have to be able to meet indoors and function indoors, regardless of the governor's executive order. Airports, buses, train terminals, medical facilities, shopping mall, shopping centers, Walmart, Lowe's, and other retail businesses of all kinds. At the same time, you told the court churches should be closed. Churches should have to meet outside or just not meet at all. Why is that? Why is it that Lowe's and Walmart, they absolutely have to be open? They're essential. Churches, nah, good luck to you.
Well, Senator, of course, I didn't design that policy. I was a lawyer defending a client.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so this guy right here has absolutely no remorse for shutting down churches, for stifling people's freedom of religion expression, if you will. Like, for a lot of people, dude, church is serious business. Like, it's required in some religions, like Catholicism. You're kind of required to go to church. Like others, it's not so much. But, you know, the fact that they shut down society altogether with these certain exemptions and the hypocrisy of some of these people in charge of these decisions that shut people down and kept people in their houses didn't abide by those same rules. You know, it was a rules for thee and not for me type of thing going on. We found leader after leader after leader after leader did this, engaged in these activities. It's fascinating. But y'all do me that favor and smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here and you want to stay up to date with news and politics, because we read the news, folks. That is important. To be armed with the knowledge of what is going on in the world, I think, is highly important to know on a daily basis what is going on, and that's what we do around here. So y'all hit that subscribe button, share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And hey, look, if you want to, I'd be deeply appreciative if you click that join button. Go ahead, you know you want to. But without any further ado, let's get into it, y'all.
But didn't you? I thought that you were the Solicitor General making these arguments.
Senator, I had a brief involvement in that case, and I actually think my involvement...
Wait, so you didn't, you weren't, these aren't your arguments? You didn't say this to the court?
Senator, I never filed a brief. So what happened is the complaint was filed, and before...
You weren't Solicitor General defending the executive order at the time?
Oh, yes, Senator.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's just skip all that, and let's just get to the substance here. You were the Solicitor General. You defended it. You made the arguments. So why is it that Walmart and Lowe's can be open, but churches had to be closed?
Senator, I think that if you study that case...
I've read the case. I have it right here.
The procedural history, you'll see that it actually reflects my respect for religious liberty. So at that time, in May of 2020, the prevailing law was Chief Justice
Why is it respectful to close churches but not to close Walmart and Lowe's? Listen, I got nothing against Walmart and Lowe's. I like those stores fine. I was at both of them last weekend. But I was also in church last weekend. And what the procedural history shows is, in jurisdiction after jurisdiction during COVID, governments discriminated, and I use that word advisedly, discriminated against people of faith, particularly Christian churches, Catholic churches, Orthodox Jewish synagogues, including your state, including this executive order. I want to know why. Why was it that you argued that churches ought to be closed, but Lowe's could be open? Explain that to me.
Senator, so what Chief Justice Roberts said in the South Bay decision was that those kind of retail establishments have short-lived durations, and for the relevantly similar activity was...
Short-lived duration. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Senator, if I could,
Was it a mistake to close churches while you allowed Lowe's and Walmart to be open?
So that is what the Supreme Court held about a year later. And the point I'm trying to make
I'm asking you,
yes.
Was it a mistake for you to argue to this court that it was fine to close these churches, but Lowe's and Walmart could be open? Do you regret it?
Senator, I had a duty to represent my
So
client.
you don't regret it? You have the benefit of retrospect now. Do you regret it?
Senator, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to criticize the policy decisions that I was asked to
You have no problem with it. Here's what else you told the court. You also told the court that if a church raised an objection to this, if the church said, no, we think we need to meet indoors, who did they have to answer to? They had to explain themselves to the sheriff or local law enforcement, the cops. And the cops would then make a determination about the church's theology. Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
Yes, Senator.
Yeah. And so do you remember what the court said about that?
So the court enjoined the governor's order in that respect.
The court says this court has grave concerns about how that answer, your answer, comports with the free exercise clause. Then the court went on to say that, you couldn't enforce the law. Why not? The government cannot treat, I'm quoting, cannot treat religious worship as a world apart from non-religious activities with no good, or more importantly, no constitutional explanation. What do you have to say about that?
Senator, after that TRO order was entered, in consultation with my client, we chose not to appeal at a time when it was abundantly clear that we would have prevailed on appeal, because the prevailing law at the time was Chief Justice Roberts' concurrence in South Bay. And so I actually think that reflects...
Well, so you were doing, you're saying that you really were doing churches a favor by making these arguments for them, by shutting them down, while Lowe's and Walmart and bars and who knows what else were all open?
Well, Senator, I didn't design that policy.
You defended it, and you just sat here and told me you don't have any regrets about it. Here's the deal. I've seen a parade of people sit in your seat who did the same thing, the same exact thing. Our respect for our rights, our constitutional rights, our civil liberties, they're not tested when it's easy. They're tested when it's hard. After 9/11, we found out who really believed in civil liberties and who didn't. In the COVID era, we found out who believed in the right to free exercise and who didn't. And it looks like you didn't. And now you were in good company. There were a lot of people just like you who did what you did, who discriminated against churches, who defended it and said, well, it's a necessity. It's a necessity. But what that tells me is when push comes to shove, you think the First Amendment is optional. It's not optional. And I haven't voted for a single person who shut down churches. And I'm sure as heck not going to vote for you. And I'll just say to what remains of this administration, if you keep sending people up here who voted to shut down churches and openly discriminated against people of faith, you're going to get this reaction every darn time. You should be telling me you regret this. It was an error. It was unconstitutional. You shouldn't have made those arguments. In retrospect, you regret it. That would be the answer you should have given. You didn't, and you will not have my vote.
Okay, so let's break this down. So it's one thing to be faced with a once-in-a-100-year pandemic, and, the last time we had a pandemic like this, everybody wrote stuff down on pen and paper. The typewriter barely existed, for crying out loud. So, it was well before the technological revolution, if you will. So it wasn't easily accessible to go find out what that government did at the time. So, that's one thing, to be faced with this pandemic and then act what you think may be in the best interest of the people, and then think about it later and be like, well, maybe we shouldn't have done this. But to act in such a way and then get the reaction from the people, they utterly despise what happened. Like, it's completely wrong. It violated our rights, just on many different levels, violated our rights. And then to try to defend that when you have the opportunity to outright say, look, we made a mistake. In retrospect, we think we maybe shouldn't have went that route. Maybe we should have did. But you get none of that with this guy. None of that. This guy is absolutely proud of what he did, and he seems to be. He's defending it like, yes, we did it. We were well within our rights to do so. No, I'm sorry, you're not. It's never within your rights to, let's just trample over this set of rights because of situation, right? Freedom is not negotiable, if you will. It's not an option, right? you don't just trample over the First Amendment. You don't just trample over the Second Amendment, which, get ready for that, folks, because now we're going to have all these advocates coming out, you know, with what happened in Minneapolis, which is insane. But you can't just say, well, we think the First Amendment is optional because pandemic and, you know, some people might die. Oh, and we're thinking about the best interests of you guys, so do what we say. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm glad that pandemic happened, as a matter of fact. And at the same time, Donald Trump lost. Because that opened so many people's eyes to exactly what was going on in government, what was going on in our news media, the corporate press, the mainstream narrative machine, as I colloquially call them. Yeah, we saw what's going on. We got the truth, and then we got the narrative from these people, and they didn't care about our rights. They didn't care about our health and safety, for goodness sakes. They didn't care about none of those things. It was blatantly clear that they didn't care about any of those things. They just wanted to control us. That's all that was about. And we also got to see which politicians sided with freedom and which politicians sided with authoritarianism, folks. And it was quite eye-opening, if you will. And it was fascinating that mostly Republicans, of course, you had a few Democrats getting on the side like, yeah, I don't think this is right. You know, and a lot of people blame some of this on Trump. Well, you know, Trump was the guy that was, I'm going to back off. Let the states take care of the states. He could have, and once again, we criticized Trump for this. He could have came in and said, no, you can't do these things, this, and this. He could have signed an executive order, done whatever he could, but he didn't do those things. He was of the opinion that the states have their rights, and they should be allowed to implement policy however the hell they want to. How did that work out for you there, Donald Trump? Not so good, did it? Because all the riots that came afterwards, once again, you know, we criticized Donald Trump for not doing exactly what he's doing right now. What he's doing, like, shocker of all shockers, y'all. Muriel Bowser came out and touted Trump bringing in the National Guard and curbing crime, actually gutting crime in Washington, D.C. It's been utterly gutted, as a matter of fact. And I've got a couple of news stories for you guys, so if you're still here, make sure and check out not only my next video, but definitely the one after that. It'll be coming out at 9 o'clock in the morning, so y'all make sure and check that out. But it's fascinating, y'all. Like, these people that just trample over the rights, right? Well, we knew the Biden administration absolutely did not care about the First Amendment whatsoever, because if they cared anything about the First Amendment, they would have quickly backtracked on policies such as these, right? And they also would have never used the backdoor access that they had to social media platforms. As a matter of fact, they created most of that backdoor access to shut down voices online. They created a ministry of truth, for crying out loud. Something straight out of a fiction novel from a communist hellscape. Like, that's what they did. They actually went forward with that, and it was in existence for a little while. Nina Jankowicz was supposed to be the head who was supposed to run that show, if you will, that whole outfit right there. Like, silencing voices online was one of the most egregious acts the Biden administration committed. Right? Not to mention the countless court orders that they absolutely violated. But did you hear any corporate press outlet calling them authoritarian? Calling them fascist? No, you didn't. They allowed for crime to just run rampant. It didn't do anything about it at all. That's tyranny, folks. That's what that is. You might be thinking, well, how? That's allowing, knowing the criminals are going to run rampant and commit crimes, and allow them to do so. That is the legacy of the Biden administration, as a matter of fact. Afghanistan, that's another one. Look, we could go off on the Biden administration all freaking day long. I absolutely could. You should have been around on the channel at that point in time. Almost every video was about Biden. Like, I had to make some that weren't, just so I wouldn't look like some deranged lunatic, for crying out loud. But it was like, there was a news story every day of something that Biden did, or his administration, that is, did, that was just so outside the norm, so beyond the pale, that I had to cover it. I had to talk about it. I had to come out in opposition to whatever was going on. It was so absurd. Everything, just about every aspect of government under the Biden administration was twisted in some evil form of nonsense. It was odd, to say the least, to be sitting here in this chair talking to that camera. It was mind-numbing, if you will. The constant deluge of just BS that would come over my desk, if you will. It was insane. It really was, and I'm so glad that Trump got reelected, because God knows where we would be if Kamala Harris had been elected. Holy freaking moly. Where would we be? This country would be going downhill much faster than it was under Biden, because that is the most incompetent, unskilled, uncharismatic person I think I've ever seen in my life. She can't even speak, for crying out loud. How do you get to that position of Vice President of the United States and you can't even create an entire coherent sentence? None of it is coherent. None of it at all. And how the hell do you get 70-something million people to vote for you? I don't understand that. Are all those people just deranged with Donald Trump? I think so. Must be. Either that, or they just listen to the corporate press and don't realize that they're being heavily manipulated. It's truly, truly insane, y'all. It really is. But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section, about some of these nominees that have been coming through here. Like, these people are just, oh man, it really is truly insane to watch some of these nominees, to think that these people are sitting on the bench, y'all. They are. Abso-freaking-lutely sitting on the bench somewhere on the federal circuit. It's insane to think of that. So many activists. But y'all smash that like button for me. Like I said, subscribe. If you're new around here, I'd love to have you. Share this video anywhere and everywhere that you can. That would be great. Sign up and become a member. You know you want to. You must want to. Help this movement expand and grow. But you guys, y'all remember that God is always with us, and He loves each and every one of you. So y'all remember that. Y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.